Welcome to another SQL tutorial. Today we will show you how to summarize and analyze information using the aggregate functions with group by class. And we will use the order by to sort data and the where and having to filter the information in SQL Server using SQL queries. So let's start our video. So let's start by creating a new table in the TutorialDB database. So let's create a new query, and first we will select the database where we want to create the table, and then using the create table we will create the orders table with following columns inside this database. So let's execute this query now, and it says that the query was successfully executed. And now let's refresh the tables, and you can see that there is a new table named orders which we have just created. Now that we have our table, let's enter some data into this table for our exercise. So these are some lines which we want to enter into the table. Let's execute this query, and 9 rows have been added into the table, and we can use the select command to display the data from the orders table. And this is our data which we are going to use today to understand the group by and the aggregate functions in SQL for summarizing and analyzing data. Now that we have our orders table, let's enter some data into this table, and this insert statement will add following data into the orders table. Let's execute this query, and 9 rows have been affected, which means that this data has been entered into this table, and we can use the select command to display the data from the orders table. And this is our data which we are going to use today to understand the group by and aggregate functions to summarize and analyze the data in SQL. So now that we have all the data in our table, let's say we want to count the number of orders. So select count all from orders. So that was easy. We have 9 orders. But what if we want to count orders by customer name? So we will add the customer name, and then we will add the count all as number of orders from orders. So this will count the number of orders by customer name. But when we execute this query, it will give us an error saying that the customer name is invalid because it is neither used in the aggregate function nor in the group by class. So we need a group by class. So let's add group by. So everything that is not an aggregate function must be included in the group by. So customer name is not an aggregate function. Customer name is not being summarized here. So we need to add the customer name to the group by class. So let's execute the query now. And as you can see, this is the original table, and we have the number of orders which are still 9, 4, 2, 2 and 1. That makes it 9. But we have 4 customers now, so Alice has 4 orders, and we can see that one order is this, this is another order, this is another order, and this is the fourth order. So the data has been summarized by the customer name. Bob has 2 orders, and we can see that here that Bob has 2 orders. So this is how we use the group by class. Everything that is not being aggregated must be added to the group by class. In this query, we use the count as aggregate function. There are many other aggregate functions such as sum, maximum, minimum, etc. So let's use the sum function to summarize the price column by customer name. So we will change the all to price and as price. So let's execute now. And now we have the price column aggregated by customer name. In this query, we use the count as aggregate function. There are many other aggregate functions such as sum, maximum, minimum, etc. So let's use the sum function to summarize the price column by customer name. So we will change the all to price and as price. So let's execute now. And now we have the price column aggregated by customer name. Until now, we have used a single column in our aggregate function, while we can use multiple columns as well. So the multiplication of price and quantity creates a sales. So let's use sale instead of price by multiplying the price to the quantity, and let's call it sales. So now we have two columns aggregated using the sum function and uh, grouped by customer name. So this will first multiply the price by quantity, and then it will sum the sales by customer name. So let's execute, and now we have sales by customer name. So Alice has sales of 1600. So if we check it, the first sale is 1200, the second is 75, the third is 25, and the fourth is 300. And this makes total sales of 1600. And Bob has first sale of 50. 25 multiplied by 2, that makes 50. And the second sales is 300, that makes the total sales of 350. And you can see here it is 350. So that is how we summarize and analyze data in SQL using the aggregate functions and group by. Just like the aggregate function, we can also use multiple columns to summarize data using the group by clause. So we have already summarized data by customer name. We can also use order date to summarize data by order date and customer name. And since both the order date and customer name are not being aggregated, these need to be included in the group by class. So let's copy the order date and add it to the group by class. And let's execute the query now. And now we have data aggregated by the order date as well as customer name. And instead of the order date column, we can also use the product column. And as you can see, now we have the sales aggregated by product and customer name. We can also use the sort by, order by to sort the data by specific columns. For example, let's sort this data by product, and now we have data sorted by the product. We can use multiple columns in the order by clause as well. And let's also use the customer name. And now we have data sorted by the product field and the customer name field. To summarize data further, we can also use filters. We can use, for example, where to filter data by specific values. For example, where customer name is equal to Alice. So now data should be displayed only when the customer name is Alice. So as you can see, only data of Alice is being displayed. We can also use having in addition to where to filter data. Having is used when multiple columns are used to calculate a specific value. So let's use having to display data where sales is greater than 100. Let's execute, and now you can see that only two values of Alice has been displayed and both have sales over 100, and previously there were four values. So we have filtered data where sales is greater than 100. So this is how we use the aggregate function with the group by clause, and we use the having and where to filter the data, and order by to sort the data, and we use all of these to summarize and analyze information using SQL queries in the SQL Server. And with this, we end our video today, and we'll see you in another tutorial. Have a nice day.